Hey there, welcome to this mini training. My name's Suze, and we're going to take a little while to ponder this question. When it comes to emails and email marketing, is less more? For our purposes here today, we're going to assume that you're following all GDPR and CAN spam rules and that everyone on your list is there because they've opted in. They want to hear from you, so you're not facing an any email is too much email kind of sitch. All right, let's jump right into it. When it comes to the less more email question, it's really a two-sided issue that's presented to us. Having too many emails or too much in each email can be tough for your consumers to process and act upon. It can also trigger biases and responses against consuming the message. Your audience probably has a million things going on and really short attention spans and a lot of competition for that limited attention. Furthermore, as the marketer or content producer, it can be really hard for you to keep pace with producing all that content to include in your messages and to also feel like you have time and energy to get everything else done in your business. But too much and too many is not the only potential problem. Too few and too little can also be a problem for you. These are just a few possible outcomes I've shown on the slide here, but basically when you don't send enough emails or you're not including enough content, your emails are not helping to build know, love, and trust. And they're not creating a situation in which your audience is going to start caring about you or see you as an authority and so on. So you're essentially missing the mark, and your audience isn't going to be motivated or mobilized to do anything. What we want to do is find an equilibrium. So working to strike that balance in your email marketing is really worth the effort. There are plenty of rewards for doing so, and it can make your emails and your email marketing program just more effective and efficient all around. And the goal here to keep in mind is to right size your messages and your approach. Before we continue, let's make sure we're moving forward with the same shared understanding of the words less and more. Less and more is not just one thing. It's not a black and white concept. It's a continuum with shades of gray. It's contextual and depends on your business, audience, purpose, etc. It's subjective and can vary from person to person. It's really a shifty little thing and can morph over time and space. Less more is often qualitative and not quantitative. It can be more about how something feels or how your email lands rather than the actual numbers. Now, several factors like those shown here teeter on the less more seesaw. We'll take a closer look at each one in a second, and I'll offer suggestions for things to consider and do for each aspect. Doing these things may help your emails become of higher quality and be more aligned with your business, audience, etc. And superior emails will always resonate better and feel more like the right amount to everyone involved. Less more isn't just a debate about the length, design, etc. of your emails. It's also about the actual content contained in them. And I'd argue this is possibly the most important and fundamental aspect to consider. Focus on quality, not quantity. Be sure to stick to relevant and valuable information from your reader's perspective. Avoid too much framing and fluff, and be sure to proofread and test any links to make sure your emails are functional and correct, so you don't have to send out any of those annoying oopsie emails, which just really feel like clutter and can reflect poorly on you in the long run. Easier to consume email content is also great. It helps your audience get through your messages better and faster. An example of this would be to use clear subject lines and strong calls to action. Doing so can create a situation in which you're grabbing the attention and helping your message stand out in the crowded inbox. You're also cluing recipients into what your message is about and what they should do next, which saves them time and effort. You're basically guiding them, reducing friction, and creating a no-brainer situation for them, which is awesome. Personalization is another thing that can help right-size emails. It draws the readers in and makes them feel part of the scene. It gives them some skin in the game and can just be a really nice touch. Be mindful of sharing personal information. Before you do so, ask yourself, is what I'm about to share, is it relevant and appropriate? Does it further my mission, or does it just create risk and vulnerability for me? A good example of this is the storytelling approach in emails. Sometimes people share way too much information. I urge you to consider doing a short personal update of 1 to 3 sentences and then segue into the meat of your message. You have to be especially careful if you're using AI tools anywhere in the content creation process. If you're using a public tool such as a ChatGPT, don't share private details with the tools because in this case, any may be too much, and you don't want to compromise your client's data or IP. Beyond the safety and privacy concerns, just be in general a savvy user of AI. Customize your generated content so it's authentic and ethically used. You want the content to sound real and like you, and that'll help it feel more right-sized. I'm not sure that there is such a thing as a perfect length email. What you really want to do is just aim for not too long and not too short. Keep important information at the top. Try to minimize the amount of scrolling. Maybe even keep your message entirely above the fold. That would be awesome. Something like a 400 to 500 word max target could be really great as length of your email, and that's what I try to stick to, and it seems to work okay. Make sure you're covering an appropriate number of topics in your message. Too many and each topic can get diluted or lost in the fray, and each topic can lose utility or impact. You also want to make sure that there's an adequate level of detail for each topic that you cover. You need to provide enough information to clearly get your message across, but not so much that your readers feel like they're being fire hosed with information, and which can make it difficult for them to pull out the needed information or figure out what action to take. This is probably no surprise, but length and density are highly correlated. So again, having the right amount of detail is really key because it can not just only impact your email's length, but how dense it is. You need enough information so that readers can understand what you're trying to tell them and can act accordingly. And you also want to try to mitigate service tickets and support demands so you and your team don't go bananas trying to make up for whatever your message was lacking. I also recommend that you review your copy to see what you can omit or make more succinct. For example, are there things that you can convey in fewer words, or is there text that can be formatted differently so it really tweaks the density factor? Visual density is also really important. Having sufficient letter, line, and paragraph spacing can make a really big difference. Including some white space around your text and whatever else is on your email can be really helpful as well. And these last 2 points are really a good segue into starting to touch on email design. But the big point here is that visual density of your content, visually dense content, can present like a wall of text, and that can be really off-putting or imposing to recipients and can impede their comprehension of your message. What your email looks like can say a lot. Properly designed emails can reduce the amount of content needed by cutting unintentional or unneeded redundancies, boosting clarity, replacing text with imagery, and so on. Now, how the details or story flows within your message matters. For example, is it done thematically or chronologically? Organizing your content well can make lots of content feel manageable. Now, where content is placed in your message also carries weight. How it's sectioned out or distributed can give readers clues and shortcuts to your message, what's important, and what they need to do next. And it's also good to know that you don't have to rely on just words or text. We've already touched on a wall of text can feel really imposing and impassive. Leaning into video, graphics, audio, animation, and so on can convey or express more information or in a different way. And often these non-text elements may be more effective and efficient in sharing your message. And that's probably why the saying, a picture is worth 1,000 words, really endures. And lastly, let's touch on content styling and decoration. That's things like headers, bullet points, emojis, bolding, italics, underlining, highlighting, and so forth. These text treatments set different kinds of content apart. It can make longer or denser emails feel easier to read or scan, and can provide subtle cues to action. So, for example, a call to action is often an underlined hyperlink or some kind of button. Logical design can help bring lengthy or dense emails back into balance. It can raise consumption and comprehension, and it can sometimes even make creating the messages easier for you. When it comes to the less more question, email timing elements can often make or break you. Thoughtful, optimized scheduling is needed. The days of the week and times of the day, as well as being mindful of holidays, peak vacation periods, and so forth, is really important. Opt for days and times that your audience is actually available to read your emails and act upon them. You also need to consider the frequency and pacing of your messages. So are you sending them out daily or weekly? Are they coming out in drips and drops or floods? This gets to be really important when you are sending out email series that have multiple messages, like welcome series or evergreen funnels or launches. You don't want to have so many messages going out concurrently or overlapping that it becomes overwhelming to your audience. And another thing to consider, especially if you're using automations, is the start times and what's triggering them. Basically, you don't want to fall prey to the too much is too much syndrome. Emails coming too fast and furiously can lead to reader burnout or ambivalence, missed messages, unsubscribes, spam complaints, and the like. But on the flip side, you also need to remember that too little can often translate into missed opportunity. So you want to be able to stay relevant with consistent communication and capitalize on warm and receptive audiences. But I think the biggest suggestion here, my main suggestion, is to create a content strategy and content plan and then stick to them. When you map out content so messages make sense at a macro level, everything just feels better. You'll always know what you're sending jives with everything else going on in your business, like your sales, your product development cycles, and other marketing initiatives. It also allows you to program in a mix of educational, nurturing, sales, and other kinds of emails. You'll also notice that you have a longer runway to prepare different formats of email content like graphics or video. Scheduling out when you're going to send what can really facilitate your email marketing program and make it easier to avoid that feast or famine cycle that can be really tough on you and your audience. This is a catch-all of overarching tips and best practices aimed at helping you right-size your email endeavors. First, know your why and desired outcome. Then create content that serves your intended purpose and action you want your audience to take. Establish an email marketing program that minimizes overwhelm, preferably leveraging tools and processes in a smart fashion. This also gives you opportunities for delegating, repurposing content, and so much more. You also need to know your audience's needs, preferences, and motivations. Tailor content, length, density, and design, etc. to meet them where they're at and where they want to go. Surveying or polling them is a great way to get a pulse on the situation and directly ask their preferences. Next, consider audience segmentation and opt-out opportunities, because not every campaign is a fit for every person on your list, and that's totally normal and okay. You can tailor content to different subscriber groups, and offering opt-out links for specific campaigns or a preferences link in your footer really empowers recipients to help right-size their own email. And this should also help with metrics like open rate, click-through to open rate, and help prevent undesired unsubscribes. Consistency is also important as it helps set expectations. Being consistent attunes your audience to your email style and schedule, and this can help them fit reading and acting upon your emails into their daily to-dos. I also encourage you to embrace experimentation and change. You can test different formats and lengths to see what hits the mark and in which contexts. Employing mechanisms like gamification and incentivization is a great way to get feedback from engaged readers to see how your experiment is going. And sometimes testing things out or trial and error is really the only way to see what's going to work. And piggybacking on that sentiment, you should also track, analyze, and adjust. Monitor your metrics to see what resonates with your audience and feels good for you as well. Then you can adjust your course to suit your business audience requirements, any special campaigns or promotions you have going on, seasonal considerations, other things like tech trends, industry benchmarks, or other developments in your business landscape, and also accommodate new insights that you've gained based on data and feedback. Just keep doing more of what's working and, reevaluate your approach periodically because needs and norms shift over time. And all this said, you should also be focusing on creating a sensible, scalable, and sustainable email marketing program overall. Set yourself up for success. Consider your short, medium, and long-term needs and capabilities, and then design your email marketing around that. If you go overboard, you're really bound to burn out, give up, or fall short of your goals and expectations, and we really don't want that. So what lessons should you be walking away from today with? First, less more is about trade-offs. You have to do the cost-benefit analysis to understand what different factors are at play and how pulling on one lever impacts another. You also need to understand that these impacts are not just for your email recipients, but also for you as the person running your email marketing program. You should also be very well aware of the fact that nothing is going to stay the same. You really need to adjust your approach based on your business, your audience, and the other environmental factors surrounding your business. So experimentation and adaptation are always going to be on the table. And what's effective and efficient is going to shift over time. And I also hope you understand that you're not in this alone and that there's plenty of resources out there to help you. So, is less more? Honestly, sometimes yes and sometimes no. I know that's not the most satisfying answer, but there's a case to be made for both less is more and less is less. And this is because context is everything. You have to decide based on what you know now and learn over time. And then your goal is to strike a balance by right-sizing your emails and email marketing program. Thanks so much for being here today. I hope you learned something new and helpful that will begin to transform and improve your email marketing. I invite you to stay in touch with me, and you can see here on the slide several ways that you are able to do that. Thanks again. Bye.